The Americanism of the great majority of America's Japanese finds its highest expression in the thousands who are in the United States Army. Almost half of them are in a Japanese-American combat team, created by order of the Secretary of War early in 1943. Some of the volunteers came from Hawaii, some from the eastern part of the United States mainland, where there was no mass evacuation. Hundreds of them volunteered while they were in relocation centers. Volunteered to fight against the militarism and oppression of Japan and Germany. They know what they're fighting against, and they know what they're fighting for. Their country, and for the American ideals that are part of their upbringing. Democracy, freedom, equality of opportunity, regardless of race, creed, or ancestry.
We became warriors. And no more will the skeptics ever question our loyalty, our valor, or patriotism. And we earned the right to be called Americans, unhyphenated Americans. Not Japanese Americans, just Americans, plain, loyal Americans. Then one of the greatest battles, or dramatic battles of World War II happened there in the Vosges Mountains. And this is not what I'm saying. The historians, military historians, consider this battle one of the 10 greatest battles in United States military history. Now this is what happened. About 250 men of the 36th Division. The 36th Division is a Texas division. So this is where Jim Crow becomes very, very important. Texas Division were trapped behind the enemy lines. It's generally called the Lost Battalion, but they were not lost. They really knew where they were, but they were trapped behind enemy lines for about 6 days without food or water or ammunition. So this general of the 36th Division, he wasn't from the South. The 36th Division people, veterans were basically from San Antonio in those areas. But this guy was a Swede from Minnesota or something, a general, Dahlquist. And because his men were trapped behind enemy lines without much food or water or ammunition, he called upon several of his, battalions to try to rescue these guys. But they couldn't do it. So he called upon the 442nd, in his word, to rescue my men. So we were attached to the 36th Division. So can you imagine us trudging up? It's muddy. It's October 27th to be exact, 1944. It was snowing up the mountains, cold and damp and heavily forested. You can't see where you're going, and the artillery is shelling you. So anyway, it was a very, very, very slow going. And I was in the artillery, and what am I doing in the front? The artillery is supposed to be way in the back, about 3 or 4 miles, shooting the gun. Well, I was one of the so-called lucky guys called forward observer. Now this is the worst job in this man's army, even worse than the infantry, because you have to go in front of the infantry to see where the enemies are, and then direct our guns to shoot the howitzer in certain area. So you go over there and you get shot at. Every second you don't know whether you're going to live, because as you trudge up the hill, the artillery shells are bursting on you, the mortar shells, the Germans, you know, up in the trees, shooting at you. Now you're stepping on the mines. See, every second you figure, well, that's the end of you. Anyway, we survived that during the day. Then at night, it's even worse. One night, I hear this mournful sound. I don't know how it happened. I don't know where he is. I can only surmise that he's about 50 yards away. Then, do you know what he said? Mother, Mother, please help me because I think I'm dying. As his life slowly webbed, his sound for help became softer and softer and softer and softer, and it stopped. You know, here's a guy my age, gave his life in the flower of his youth to protect the freedom that we all enjoy, but his family could not because they were in the internment camps. You know, you think about that, say, gee, what am I doing here? And in my case, because I volunteered, every last second of the 5 or 6 days I was chasing the Germans, I swore to myself. I said, Ichiyama, you are stupid. Stupid whatever. That sustained me. So anyway, after 4.5 to 5 days, we finally rescued the Lost Battalion people. As we going towards, chasing the Germans toward Berchtesgaden, we came upon hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emaciated, bald-headed, sunken eyes, hollow cheeks, in their black and white uniform, barely skeleton, roaming around the countryside. We started to approach these guys and we offered them whatever we had, a little food, little water, little aspirin. And it was still cold, so whatever extra blanket we had, we gave it to them, and we saw really appreciation in their faces. Because many, many of these guys were subjugated for months and perhaps even years. And some of these lucky guys were maybe a couple of days or a couple of weeks. That afternoon, in the evening, I guess late afternoon, some of us went into the camp. And this is another thing I have never forgotten. We went into the camp, and as we entered the camp, the stench, impossible to bear. Urine, feces, decaying bodies, and more than anything else, the acrid smoke of burning flesh. The acrid smoke of burning flesh will never disappear. It's in the air. So we said, hey, what is this? And well, I have weak constitution, though, so I went out retching after, maybe a minute or two. But some of my other guys that went in with me with stronger constitution wandered aimlessly around the compound. So then you see these guys coming around begging for food once we pitched camp, and what can you do? You have to give them something, but then later on we've been told that don't feed these guys because the Inspector General and his group will come and take care of these guys. But nevertheless, as human beings, how can you see another human being suffer and not do anything?